right, before we get into this video here, first thing I want to do is shout out to your Yu-Gi-Oh channel as this is his video that we are reacting to. Now, this is not to make fun of him. This is just to raise awareness to young men, men in general, for those who are not in the know. Let's get to it. I got two phrases for you. Happy wife, happy life. Happy spouse, happy house.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm listening.
I'm glad you find that interesting because the video we're about to watch will make the distinction very clear. Let's get into it.
Out the way. I am no longer married and I'm divorced. When I met this woman, I told her about my Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. She hated it. She didn't like it. She said that, hey, you could do something better with your life. You should go back to school. So you know what I did? Back in 2016, I sold all my equipment. I sold my YouTube channel. I sold all my camera stuff. I'm like, you know what? Maybe it is time to move on. Maybe it's time for me to do something better with my life. Not knowing that at that time, what I had was very special. At that time, something that I chose to do, YouTube, I had something going on. Even though I had some drama and stuff going on before and I shut down my channel a few times, I had something that I completely gave up. I gave it up because someone said, hey, you know what? Maybe it is time to move on. You got to do something better with your life. There's got to be something more for your life. And I sold all my stuff for a woman. And she's no longer here.
All right, Dad. Initial thoughts?
Okay, so initially, I have a few thoughts. So she told him that she hated it from the very beginning. Why he chose to continue to move forward with her, I have no idea why he would do that. You have a hobby, something that you love to do. Somebody says that they hate it. He should have never went forward with her. Secondly, making the change for somebody. You always have to balance that, what it is that you're going to give up when somebody comes into your life. You just can't give up the things that you really value, you really love. So I see some initial red flags here, but I'm gonna let I'm gonna let it breathe. I'm gonna let it ride and see what happens.
And this problem persists. She told me at that time, hey, you want to meet my mother? You need a car. Because I didn't have a car at the time. I was doing YouTube. I was working from home. I didn't need to drive anywhere. Yes, YouTube is what I did for a living. It's how I paid my bills. And I was street performing also. How did I street perform? I just catch the bus 20 minutes down the street, played my horn, went home. I never needed a car. But when I met this woman, you have to go back to school. You have to exercise. You have to get your degree. You have to do something better with your life. Even though I explained to her, this is what I chose to do. A woman comes in your life and try to tell you the plan that you chose for your life is wrong and out of love.
Do you think that he should have left immediately after that?
Well, she's coming in and she's immediately trying to change him. That should have been red flag number one. Someone coming into your life and immediately trying to tell you, you need to go to school, you need to have a better plan, you need to exercise. I do agree with the exercise part. He should have been exercising. But if he was making ends meet and he didn't have a car and he was street performing and things of that nature, and he was able to live his life comfortably, her coming in and trying to change that is her trying to build him into a different kind of man. That's red flag number one. Should he have left immediately? He probably should have just held his ground and told her this is the plan for his life and whether she could be a part of it or not, and let her make the decision. But he should not have given up those things that he was able to live his life in a particular way. And her opinion of it really shouldn't have been that important.
I choose to say, you know what? Maybe she's right. And I took a chance. I said, you know what? I'm going to give this up completely. Like, for good. Sold the channel to Jobber. Sold all my stuff. Tried to go back to school multiple times. I met the parents. They asked me, hey, what do you do for a living? I had to tell them I am a musician. I couldn't tell them I was a street musician. I am a musician. Then they said, hey, you have a degree? I said, I don't have a degree. My ex-wife parents did not speak to me for 2 years. and told her not to marry me because I don't have a degree. What sense does that make? So I give up this YouTube thing. I give up my entrepreneurial things. I try to do something that's not innately a part of my strengths at all because I'm thinking I'm in love to do something for somebody to prove something.
Okay. So what do you think about the whole parent situation?
Well, what he said there was most important. He tried to go back to school. He was making changes for her to try to prove something. I think ultimately she was trying to make him or build him into the gump that she wanted him to be. Because number one, she probably felt like she knew her parents wanted her to be with a guy that had a degree. I don't know why the parents felt like their expectations of him were even valid or necessary. I feel like once she knew that her parents wanted her to be with a guy that had a degree. So in essence, he's trying to satisfy the parents. That makes no sense. Why is she an adult still trying to please her parents? So that's some issues with her and her parents that she need to work out. That has nothing to do with him. How did you see the situation?
I think it explains a lot there. She's trying to mold him into the man that she thinks it fits with her parents' views.
Mm-hmm.
I really think it's not even for herself. It's just more so just so she could, I don't know what kind of problem she has with her parents, but
Mm-hmm.
for her to like be like, oh, you got to be this, this, and that. And like,
Yeah.
just so my parents could like accept you, therefore, maybe I'm speculating, could accept me. I think that's how I see it, at least.
Yeah, the parents' expectations are literally the third entity in this relationship. It is those two people, their marriage, and then the parents also being involved in their marriage. I can see why this is heading to where I think that this is heading. She's trying to build him into something that he is not. This is a common issue in marriages where either the husband or the wife can't break away from their family. They still are trying to please their family as an adult. Man, that shit ended when you were like 15 trying to please your parents. Definitely by the time you were 18. And now you're in your 20s and 30s and you're still trying to please your parents. Nah, fuck that. That should have never happened. And by proxy, he's trying to please her parents. Hell no.
And this continues on through the marriage. She says, hey, you need to find a hobby. I'm like, oh, let me play Yu-Gi-Oh again. So last December, last year, I start my channel up again. I buy my channel back from Java. Like, oh, she gave me the okay to go into a hobby. You know what she said? You're spending too much time playing those cards. It's either the cards or me. She literally said that. I'm like, you just said I need a hobby. I get into a hobby, and now you said I'm doing it too much. What is it? What do I do? She says, why are you into those cards so much? I said, hey, I need to make a video about something. And I haven't played this card game for 2 years, on and off. How can I make a video for my subscribers about something I have no knowledge of? She hated those cards. She literally cried because of those cards. And people say, hey, priorities, man. It's your wife, or, you got to do what you got to do. But then I'll be back at that point where I'm giving up things that I like, things that's a part of my life for someone else to feel happy. And I feel miserable in the process. I'm sitting there watching all these YouTubers come out and make videos and do all this stuff. They're traveling. I'm like, that's what I used to do. I love that. I miss that. Why can't she come along with my journey instead of scrutinizing me? And then that's money gone from me. She said, hey, how come you're not paying the bills? And I was like, what? I have a job. I have a 9-to-5 job. I don't make enough from this 9-to-5 job to pay all these bills. Before then, I could street performing in YouTube. I made enough money off of that to pay the bills. Now I'm working 9-to-5 all day long, and that's not a complaint because there are people who do that. But I had something that most people wish they had. Most people wish they can go out, make some money, pay their bills, and have all day off. That was a gift. That was something that I had.
One thing led to another, and then all of a sudden, it all became a big problem. You asked for one thing, and that thing it just became a whole problem. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, the tone was set improperly at the very beginning. He had hobbies that he liked. She told him he hated it. So he stopped doing it. So therefore, he jumped through one hoop. Then there was another thing she didn't like. You got to get a job. He jumped through another hoop. I don't like that you're a street performer. You got to please my parents. You got to get a degree. Jump through another hoop. Again, fellas, understand this. When you continuously jump through hoops that she's setting for you, she's never going to be satisfied. She's just going to provide more and more hoops that you got to jump through more and more times. It isn't just, oh, jump through these 2 hoops and I'm going to be happy. No, this shit is going to last through the duration of your relationship. Because then what did it turn into? How come you're not paying the bills? Where did that come from? That was never even part of what he said initially, right?
Mm,
It was another hoop that she wanted him to jump through. And I'm thinking, now that I'm hearing more of this story, I'm thinking she's either getting this information or this advice from her mom or her girlfriends, telling her he needs to go back to school. He needs to get a 9 to 5. He needs to pay all the bills. Because you see how she's now increasing what it is that she feels like he needs to be doing. She's getting this information from somewhere else. Because women generally, they don't make these kind of decisions on their own. Women tend to go back to their group of friends, their girlfriends, their sister to get information and then come back to you and now tell you to jump through these hoops that another woman is saying you should do. Nah, man. Not at all.
she'll have you jumping through hoops, right? It also brings back to like what you said before. It's like toxic behavior, and it like just starts subtle, and then it just starts
Yes.
building up, going on and on. Yeah. So it's
Mhm.
just this is one of those scenarios where it just keeps going and going, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and it'll just hit right before you know it. And unfortunately for him, he dug his own grave. So
Yeah, because like you said, it is the subtlety of it. First, there were things where he felt like, okay, if I go get a degree, that's self-improvement. If I stop playing with these Yu-Gi-Oh cards, that's self-improvement. Like I'm becoming an adult, I'm growing up. If I exercise, that's self-improvement. Now what is it? How come you're not paying the bills? I'm sure if if you listen to the whole video, she's not happy. It's subtle, but it increases over time. And what was she trying to do? She was trying to build a gump. These are the traits of a toxic woman. Someone doesn't come into a relationship with you and say, you need to change these 10 things about you. Hell no, I don't. You better go find the motherfucker with those things. I ain't changing a goddamn thing.
but it's also funny how people they'll say, what one man won't, another man will.
Women will use that in a manner to try to get you to acquiesce and do what they want you to do. To say, well, if you won't do it, another man will. Okay, go get him then. Because if you could get that man that would do that, then why am I here?
Right.
Because you can't get the man that will do that. So again, that's another toxic trait. Nah, and it's 2025. You young men should not be falling for those tactics because guys, older guys, your dad, your uncle, people in your friend group have the information, and we need to start telling each other, don't fall for this shit.
It is true. I am complaining. I am hurt. I made some mistakes. I did some dumb things. And you're right. It is my fault. I chose to sell my channel. I chose to give up the thing, not realizing, say, you know what? This is my YouTube channel. This is my life. You can't come into my life and dictate to me and tell me what's better for me because you don't see it from my perspective. And then get mad at me when I lose all of those things and I can't do what you think I should do. I've never been that way. So I'm moving out. In 2 weeks, I'll be moving out. I'll have my own place again. I'm starting over, starting my life over. I truly want to do YouTube full time. Not for a living. Yes, money comes along with it. And yes, my channel is dead. But I'll do it as a hobby because I like doing it and I can't give it up. I've made a video about not giving up before. I said I would never give up. I just can't. I enjoy making videos. I enjoy playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I enjoy being with my friends and doing those things, even at this age, even 15 years later.
What are your initial thoughts through this whole scenario this guy has been in?
Well, let's take the last part, which he acknowledged something I think was extremely important. He said it was my fault. He said he gave up those things. He sold his channel. And that's the one thing, when you recognize something is your fault, it's easier for you to make a change. When you say it's somebody else's fault, you're not in control over that. That's why good leaders will say, this was my fault. I take the hit. I take the brunt for it, because when it's your fault, you can then make the change. So that was very good for him at the very end to acknowledge that. At least I feel like I was very good to acknowledge that, because he's moving out. He's getting back on his path, getting back into his Yu-Gi-Oh, getting back into YouTube. He's probably going to go back to street performing. He's picking up where he left off. But here's the hard part. As he said, he's starting over. You know how in a video game you press the reset button? It's hard to press the reset button and start over. But sometimes in life, as men, you got to press the reset button and start over. I see the evolution of what happened. I see the red flags at the beginning, but it was good at the end that he acknowledged where things went wrong, and now he's about to correct it. I'd like to see where this guy is a year, 2 years from now. I can guarantee he's going to have a smile on his face. Guaranteed.
It's like, I'm glad, like, that video's out there, for the young men to like be out there and, to witness what other people witness firsthand. Because beyond that certain path, it was going to take him to a very dark path if he was going to like, stick to it, and he'll just like basically just lose himself. Don't even know who he is.
As you said at the beginning, happy wife, happy life, or happy house, happy spouse. Now I see the distinction of what it is that you or how you pose that at the very beginning, because he went down the path of happy wife, happy life, and he recognized he didn't know who he was. He didn't even enjoy the things he enjoyed anymore. She told him to get a hobby. He jumped through the hoop and went back to his hobby. She said, why are you spending more time? Why are you spending so much time doing that? What? Don't jump through hoops for people. Because if he would have stuck with his YouTube channel since 2016, and now we're in 2025, 9 years later, you know how much bigger his channel would have been, how much more success he would have had. But now he's starting over. It's better to start over than to continue to go down the path of a person that you don't recognize.
Word of the wise right here, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're about to see a man who stuck to his guns and didn't change his path for a woman.
What's crazy is that same girl that left me stranded pretty much in the army was the same girl who laughed at me when I told her I was doing YouTube. She laughed at me, bro. She pretty much told me like, what the hell, shit, man. Stop. She was like, what the fuck, man? Ass niggas doing YouTube? But one thing about them tables though, boy, listen, the same girl, bro. She called me this shit. It was like, can you help me with my YouTube?
Fuck her.
Fuck that bitch. Fuck that bitch, hey, you know what I'm saying? Fuck you. Real talk. Man, she was like, ain't that nigga doing YouTube, nigga playing 2K, nigga. One thing about them tables, boy, they don't turn. I don't give a fuck how long you sit there.
Shout out to Duke Dennis, sticking to his word, sticking to his guns.
Yeah. Shout out to Jasmine Brand. Put that video together. That was good. I like to see young men out there winning. When you understand the path for your life and you stick to it, you win, because it's your path for your life. You're not trying to acquiesce to anybody. That's what's up. Shout out to Duke Dennis for sticking to his guns, man. That's what's up. There may be an inclination when you get with a woman, you think that she knows what's best. She sees the bigger picture. That's not always the case. She sees what benefits her. Don't lose what benefits you.
All right. Again, the word of the wise. Air's on there. You already know how it is. See you on the flip side.